The top stories tonight in Y News. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. expressed confidence that the Philippines will be a leading agricultural resource hub in the world.
The labor force survey reveals that there were 2.68 million unemployed Filipinos aged 15 and above in August.
The Philippine National Police says it has new information in the Percy Lapid murder.
During the Filipino-American Cultural Celebration, the Los Angeles city government will feature the iconic Wish USA bus.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, October 6, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Harleen Delgado.
First in the news, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. committed to taking all actions to help the Philippines become a leading agricultural resource hub in the world. The president also vowed to make every resource used in the implementation of the railroad project in Laguna as efficient as possible. Nel Maribohok explains why.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. expressed his optimism that the Philippines can become one of the world's leading agricultural resource hubs. During the opening ceremonies of the AgriLink, FoodLink, AquaLink 2022 at the World Trade Center in Pasay City, President Marcos emphasized the need of stepping up efforts to advance the nation's agriculture economy.
With our energies and resources combined, I am confident that we will not only achieve our goal of feeding the Filipino people, but also achieve our dream of making the Philippines a leading agricultural resource hub in the region and the world.
PBBM pledged that his administration will continue to support and alleviate the plight of the farmers, fisher folk and livestock farmers and breeders who hailed as the country's great unsung heroes.
Now that we are beginning to see the shape of the new normal, I assure you that this administration is one with you in fulfilling our goals and targets for the agricultural sector.
The chief executive said he had decided to take on the portfolio as Agriculture Secretary in a bid to ensure the stability of food supply and prices in the country. Meanwhile, a contract signing for the South Commuter Railway project was also attended by the President. The public was assured by PBBM that all resources will be utilized and maximized for the aforementioned project. The project between Manila and Laguna, which spans a distance of 56 kilometers, aims to cut the travel time between the two areas in half from 3 hours to only 1. Around 340,000 passengers were projected to be accommodated by the railway daily. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The House of Representatives assures it will transmit the 2023 proposed national budget to the Senate in the following days. Eileen Cerulo reports.
After finalizing the institutional amendments in the House of Representatives, the lower chamber of Congress is set to transmit it to the Senate. A total of 77.5 billion peso funding was realigned and was allocated to priority sectors including health, education, transportation, and social services. This aims to allocate funding for several programs with zero allotted budget. According to House Speaker Martin Romualdez, they refined a budget of department programs that will not be utilized next year.
So in areas where we feel that the original proposed NEP may not be fully expended, we make refinements and then we make realignments to programs, whether they be in education, in agriculture, for people that need more urgent projects and programs, realign there.
Under the realigned budget, 20.25 billion pesos was added to the budget of Department of Health. Additional budget was allocated to the Medical Assistance for Indigent Patients program and allowance for healthcare and non-healthcare workers. Specialty hospitals including Philippine Heart Center, Lung Center of the Philippines, Philippine Children's Medical Center, and Philippine General Hospital will receive 500 million pesos each. 250 million pesos will be allocated to the department's Cancer Assistance Program. The Special Education Program of the Department of Education will have a 581 million peso budget, while 10 billion pesos will be used to build additional classrooms. 10 billion pesos will also be allotted to the Department of Public Works and Highways to fund its water system projects in barangays. The Department of Social Welfare and Development has 12.5 billion pesos additional budget to fund its assistance programs. 5.5 billion pesos was allocated for the Libreng Sakay fuel subsidy program and bike lane construction of the Department of Transportation. The Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, Commission on Higher Education, and Department of Labor and Employment will receive 5 billion pesos funding. Despite its low utilization rate, the Department of Information and Communications Technology will have an additional 1.5 billion pesos to fund its national broadband project. Additional budget was also allocated to the Commission on Elections, Department of Trade and Industry, as well as the Philippine National Police. House Speaker Romualdez hopes that the Senate will adopt the institutional amendments of the House for the 2023 proposed national budget. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Senators grill the Department of Budget and Management on the proposed fund for the government's anti-insurgency task force. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
Senate Finance Committee Chairperson Sani Angara has reminded the Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, to be specific on the projects in the proposed 2023 national budget. This was after Budget Undersecretary Tina Roscanda disclosed during the budget hearing that the projects under the Barangay Development Program of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-LCAC, have yet to be identified. Angara says that this could be considered as pork barrel if no details were provided in the proposed national budget.
Unfortunately, Madam Chair, the projects are identified only during implementation phase.
You know, mahirap kasi isn't that a form of pork barrel that's frowned upon based on the Supreme Court thing? I see the minority leader, who's really a much better lawyer than I am. He's agreeing that that's a pork barrel based on the definition of the Supreme Court because when you pass the GAA, there must be an identification of projects as much as possible.
Senator Nancy Binay, meanwhile, questioned the DBM on its allotment for the task force. This as she noted that not even half of the projects from the 16 billion peso budget for the task force in 2021 were completed. The NTF-LCAC has proposed 10 billion pesos for next year, wherein 10 million pesos will be given to each barangay beneficiary. The selected barangays are said to be cleared from influence of communist rebels.
Mr. Chair, how would you justify the additional 10 billion for next year when we don't even know what's going on with this project?
The justification for the additional amounts would correspond to the cleared barangays. They had more cleared barangays that they identified.
So they asked for more than 10 billion.
Yes, but we were saying that perhaps you have to concentrate on the ongoing projects under the cleared barangays that have been recently identified.
Projects that were usually launched under the NTF-LCAC's Barangay Development Program include construction of farm-to-market roads, school buildings, and health stations. The senators directed the DBM to submit the list of projects before the plenary budget deliberations next month. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God. A vaccine specialist has issued a fresh warning to the public about breakthrough COVID-19 infections, citing the potential of diminishing vaccination protection and growing complacency against the illness. Breakthrough COVID-19 instances are those who develop the virus while being completely vaccinated against it. Complacency and waning immunity, said vaccine expert panel chairperson Dr. Nina Gloriani, may trigger the occurrence of breakthrough COVID-19 cases in the country. The expert then highlighted the role of booster shots in increasing protection against COVID-19.
Importante sana maintindihan ng ating mga kababayan, lalo na yung mga may edad at may mga sakit, na ang booster ay nagpapataas na ulit ng proteksyon, and especially dun sa mga variants na siyang umiikot sa ngayon.
And for the news abroad, U.S. President Joe Biden called out the OPEC Plus, an intergovernmental organization for countries exporting petrol, for its decision to reduce oil production. Olga Chalian will tell us why live. Yes, Paul, go ahead.
Mariel, the de facto leader of OPEC Plus, Saudi Arabia, announced the decision to cut production by 2 million barrels per day, an amount equating to 2% of the worldwide supply. They justified their move saying that it was a necessary response to increasing interest rates in the West and a weakening global market. In the White House press release, they expressed President Biden's disappointment, stating that he called the decision to cut production as short-sighted. The Prince of Saudi Arabia has mentioned the real cuts would be 1 to 1.11 million barrels per day, and that a 2 million cut was just based on baseline figures. The president is now looking at using strategic oil stocks to maintain reduced prices for oil, a move that the United States wants to make to eliminate profits that Moscow could gain from oil revenues. While the West continues to accuse Russia of weaponizing energy, Moscow accuses the West of weaponizing dollar and financial systems in retaliation for Russia's invasion of Ukraine since February. Back to you, Mariel.
Thank you, Paul Gatchalian, for that live report. A recent World Bank report said that the goal of eradicating extreme poverty by 2030 is not possible. Ryuji Sasaki reports why live. Go ahead, Ryuji.
Mariel, the effects of extraordinary shocks to the global economy triggered by the coronavirus pandemic, the ongoing invasion in Ukraine, and the economic slowdown in China prohibited the world to reach its goal of ending extreme poverty by 2030, according to the World Bank. Not to mention the skyrocketing food and energy prices this year have also hindered economic recovery. Given the current trend, poor countries are in a longer haul to living a daily expense of fewer than $2, mostly in Africa. The Poverty and Shared Prosperity report also indicates that more than 3 billion people live on less than $6.85 a day, which is the average of the national poverty lines of the upper middle income countries. Meanwhile, World Bank President David Malpass called for majority policy changes to shift the trend. He suggests to boosting the cooperation of countries, avoiding broad subsidies, focusing on long-term growth, and adopting measures that could help raise revenue without hurting the poorest people. Furthermore, investing in better health and education will also be crucial for developing countries in the next 10 years to come, according to World Bank's chief economist Dermot Jill. Mariel?
Thank you, Ryuji Sasaki, reporting live. A gas price limit will be implemented by the European Union to help control high energy demands to get through the winter season next year. From London, United Kingdom, here's Giona Privado to tell us the details live. Yes, Giona, please go ahead.
Yes, Marielle, after draining the natural gas this coming winter, the European Union or EU may face an even more serious energy crunch next year. This, according to the head of the International Energy Agency on Wednesday. As such, the EU is considering to set a gas price cap to help the region get through winter next year. This plan, however, has divided the 27-nation bloc, as some countries complete to buy liquefied natural gas and other alternatives, making it harder to secure supplies. EU countries' storage tanks have been filled up to around 90% of its capacity after Russia cut gas supplies to the west supporting Ukraine. Historically, the EU relied 40% of its natural gas on Russia. Executive Director of International Energy Agency Faith Birol said, Europe will survive the coming winter with just some bruises as long as there are no political or technical surprises. However, EU's real challenges will start to kick in when gas storage tanks drain to 25 to 30% by February or March next year and would need refilling. Meanwhile, European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen proposed in her speech at the European Council Summit in Prague that instead of bidding against each other, the EU countries should start jointly buying gas instead. Marielle?
All right, thank you, Giona Privado, reporting live from London, United Kingdom. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Marielle. The number of unemployed Filipinos increased in August 2022 compared to July 2022. However, the Philippine Statistics Authority anticipates a rise in the number of Filipinos in employment in this last quarter of 2022. Dante Almento tells us why.
The most recent survey published by the Philippine Statistics Authority or PSA shows 2.68 million Filipinos were without a job in August 2022 from 2.60 million in July 2022. It translates to an unemployment rate of 5.2% in July 2022 and 5.3% in August 2022.
Ang employment rate nitong Agosto 2022 ay nasa 94.7% at ito ay mas mababa ng 0.1% kumpara nung Hulyo 2022 na nasa 94.8%.
National Statistician and Civil Registrar General Undersecretary Dennis Mapa says newcomers to the workforce or new job seekers are among those added to the number of unemployed Filipinos.
Ang karamihan na unemployed sa kanila, so dito may dagdag tayo ng mga 79,000. Ito yung mga new entrants, yung first time na pumasok sa labor force, no?
Meanwhile, USEC Mapa predicts a rise in the number of Filipinos who will find employment in the last quarter of 2022.
Pag pumasok na yung last quarter, yung bare months, no? In the past, tumataas yung ating employment kasi may mga seasonal activities, no? Yung sa retail. So may expectation if we look at yung seasonality factor, tataas yung number.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The family of veteran broadcaster Percival Mabasa was assured by the Philippine National Police that every effort would be made to solve his murder. Police authorities claim to have a lead on the assassins who killed Mabasa. Leah Ilagan reports why.
Roy Percy Mabasa's brother said that over Percy's 35 years as a commentator, he received several death threats. However, he said that before he was killed, his brother made no mention of a death threat.
Si Percy, kung kilala ninyo bilang kaibigan, ay as kapatid, isa po siyang pribadong tao. Hindi siya nagsasabi kahit kanino ng kanyang nararamdaman, ng kanyang hinanakit. Yun ay tinatago niya sa sarili niya.
Mabasa added they have entrusted the PNP with conducting the entire investigation. PNP Chief Police General Rodolfo Asurin Jr. assures the family that the PNP will focus on the investigation.
I gave them the assurance na sisiguraduhin ng ating kapulisan na tututukan at iimbestigahan ang kaso na ito hanggang sa mahuli at ma-identify natin at masampahan natin ang kaso lahat po na may kinalaman sa kanyang pagkamatay.
Security for Percy's family will also be provided by the Southern Police District. NCRPO Director Jonel Thomas stated that improvements to the CCTV images taken at the crime scene are progressing.
As of today, ang masabi ko lang is tuloy-tuloy po yung backtracking, yung mga CCTV na yan. Actually, meron na. Nakita na namin medyo clear na yung picture ng hitman.
Monday night, when Percy Lapid is traveling to his home in the BF Resort Village in Las Piñas City, he halted a little distance from the subdivision's entrance. A dashcam video shows 3 gunshots quickly following the shooting, and Percy even hit the vehicle in front of him. The suspects could be seen leaving in the opposite direction. Las Piñas Chief of Police Colonel Jaime Santos said 2 bullets from a .45 caliber pistol struck behind Percy's left ear. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is expected to release new guidelines for the filing of Sangguniang Kabataan Aspirant Certificates of Candidacy, or COCs. This will allow the Commission to initially screen the COCs. COMELEC Chairman George Erwin Garcia stresses that COCs of overage SK aspirants will not be accepted immediately upon filing. They have a database that will determine an aspirant's actual age. The poll body explains that the purpose is to prevent the filing of numerous petitions for COC cancellation or disqualification as experienced by the COMELEC in the last SK election in 2018. 6,000 cancellation and disqualification cases related to overaged SK candidates were received.
Engineer Nelson Celis has been reappointed as Commissioner of the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. The Commission on Appointments, or CA, has recently bypassed Celis. The Chief Executive also appointed Ernesto Maceda Jr., President of the Philippine Association of Law Schools, as ad interim commissioner. Meanwhile, the Commission welcomed Celis and Maceda's ad interim appointments. As ad interim appointees, they can already take office without the confirmation of the CA. As a result, the COMELEC and bank is now complete with 6 commissioners and the chairman.
The Land Transportation Office, or LTO, plans to finish manufacture of at least 90% of automobile license plates by the end of 2023. JP Nunez reports.
The LTO will search for another unit of computer-operated machine that makes vehicle plates to finish their backlogs. The Department of Budget and Management has approved a 4.7 billion peso budget for plate making. As of today, LTO can make at least 20,000 plates on a daily basis with its 2 robots and 8 embossing machines manually operated by its workers. The agency expects to complete the backlog by 2024.
Yes, doable po. Ang target po namin is about 90% mapupuno na po namin, and then by 2024, zero backlog na po tayo. I'll stand firm to my commitment na dapat po 90% tapos na yan by December ho. And that is my commitment to the government of the Philippines po.
To date, backlogs in motor vehicle plates still exceed 11 million pieces, while replacement plate of vehicles exceeds 2 million pairs. Meanwhile, the LTO chief assures that newly registered motorcycle and vehicle owners will receive their plate within 7 days.
Ang maganda hong balita ngayon, sa mga bagong sasakyan po, pagbili ho, may plaka kaagad within 7 days po. Yun ho ang commitment namin.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Taiwanese government declared that border opening on October 13 will proceed despite the nation's COVID rise. From Taiwan, Merijo Malariado will tell us why live. Yes, Merijo, go ahead.
Good evening, Mariel. According to the press conference held by the Central Epidemic Command Center, or CECC, on Tuesday, there has been 8.6 increase in COVID cases this week from the BA.5 Omicron subvariant, for a total of 49,509 cases. The said increase is the second highest single-day case since the BA.5 outbreak started, following last September 14 as the highest with 49,540 cases. According to the new 0+7 system, obligatory quarantine for incoming passengers will be eliminated as of October 13, according to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. With this approach, arriving travelers will only be subject to 7 days of self-health monitoring while following all applicable health procedures, like donning a mask and keeping away from busy areas. Hospital visits are prohibited during this time with the exemption of essential necessities. The CECC also stated that although the outbreak has plateaued generally, instances may surge this week. With the border opening, the weekly passenger limit will increase to 150,000 and be expanded to include visitors from nations where entry without a visa is not permitted. The prohibition against tour groups will also be lifted. Marielle?
Thank you, Mary Jo Malariado, reporting live from Taiwan. Japan's health ministry has issued a fast-track approval for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine to be administered to children as young as 6 months old up to 7 or 4 years old on Wednesday. The approval involves Pfizer's updated version of the vaccine, which targets both the original strain of the virus and the circulating BA.4 and BA.5 subvariants of Omicron. It will be administered over 3 shots for children, the second shot being 3 weeks after the first and the third being 8 weeks after the second. Moreover, the Health Ministry also approved the same vaccine to be produced as a booster shot for adults. A SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft carrying a crew of 3 astronauts and 1 cosmonaut from the Soviet Union took out on a journey to the International Space Station. The operation also features a few historical milestones. Joselito Liquido will tell us why live. Yes, Joselito?
Good evening, Marielle. The team, now called Crew 5, is the 6th manned spaceflight launched from the partnership between NASA and SpaceX. Crew 5 took off aboard a SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida on Wednesday. The 4 crew members are astronauts Nicole Mann and Josh Casada of NASA, together with astronaut Koichi Wakata of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Anna Kikina. As one of the few historical milestones in the mission, Nicole Mann became the first Native American woman to travel to space while also serving as the operations mission commander, which makes her the first woman ever to take on such a role. Another historical first is Anna Kikina being the first Russian woman to join a SpaceX mission as part of the NASA and Russia's ride-sharing deal agreed last July. The Crew Dragon spacecraft is now on its way to the International Space Station, or ISS, and is expected to arrive after a 29-hour trek after its launch. They will join the 7 astronauts in the ISS, and the 2 crews will have a handover period. Part of the crew's mission will be maintaining the space station's exterior, conducting spacewalks, and performing more than 200 science experiments. The crew is scheduled to return to Earth next year after 5 months in the ISS. Marielle?
Thank you, Joselito Liquido, reporting live. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Mariela Toza, reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
4 Chinese Coast Guards, 2 militia vessels were spotted near Panatag Shoal. During the aerial surveillance of the Philippine Coast Guard, 2 Chinese vessels were spotted inside the vicinity waters, while the other 2 were spotted outside the vicinity waters. The PCG has been conducting aerial surveillance and patrol at the West Philippine Sea, which aims to assert the country's sovereignty over the said areas amid the territorial dispute in the South China Sea. The PCG is also distributing relief supplies to fishermen as well as ensuring their safety. Aside from relief distribution, free health checkups to fishermen are also conducted.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health promotes primary care services in local government units. The DOH says this will significantly reduce the number of patients in hospitals. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why.
Primary care services, especially those with facilities, may provide basic medical procedures for checkup and diagnostic testing of most patients. But instead of using the service, patients go straight to hospitals. The Department of Health explains this as it encourages local government units to intensify primary care activities for the wellness of communities.
Pag tinignan natin ang mga nagpapatingin sa primary care facilities at sa ospital, we would find that around 60 to 70% ay pumupunta po diretso sa ating ospital, even though ang kanilang mga sakit ay pang primary care level lamang.
DOH Officer in Charge Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres says there are almost 500 primary health facilities across the country. The agency planned to expand the facilities by repurposing isolation facilities constructed for COVID-19 patients during the height of the pandemic. Vergeres further explains that if primary care services will be intensified, it will be helpful for early detection of diseases and other health concerns, hence reducing hospitalization, utilization, and cost.
Kung hindi ho natin uumpisahan, i-prevent ang mga sakit sa ating lipunan ngayon, dadating po tayo dun sa punto na ang atin pong mga may sakit will just opt to die at home, will just opt to just stay at home without receiving any care.
The DOH, however, is optimistic that more citizens will patronize primary care services as it may now provide cash-free service and medicines due to the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Law. This is by automatically qualifying any Filipino to benefit from the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth.
Sa oras na tumungtong ng ospital, ang isang member o naging pasyente siya, hindi i-check ang kanyang contribution kung updated o hindi. Member man siya o hindi, magagamit niya ang PhilHealth.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Our Kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
Before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 19. It says, Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. And those are the reasons behind the news, October 6, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Harleen Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.